One of the things about receptors is they change in their sensitivity. If a given receptor for a given drug or internal juice is being bombarded for a long time at a high intensity, it will literally shrink up. There will be less of them, or it will be hooked up in such a way that it is desensitized or downregulated. So the same amount of drug or internal juice will elicit a much smaller response.
We're bombarding the cell with the same attitude and the same chemistry over and over again on a daily basis. When that cell finally decides to divide, when it produces a sister cell or a daughter cell, that next cell will have more receptor sites for those particular emotional neuropeptides and less receptor sites for vitamins, minerals, nutrients, fluid exchange, or even the release of waste products or toxins. Now, all aging is a result of improper protein production. What happens when we age? Our skin loses elasticity. Well, elastin is a protein. What happens to our enzymes? We don't digest as well. What happens to our synovial fluid? Those are proteins. They become brittle and stiff. What happens to our bones? They become thin. So all aging is a result of improper protein production. So then the question arises, does it really matter what we eat? And does nutrition really have an effect if the cell doesn't even have the receptor sites after 20 years of emotional abuse to even receive or to let in the nutrients that are necessary for its health? So if the muscle cell is making healthy muscle protein, and over years and years of producing the same attitude chemically, that cell starts to produce the normal muscle protein, but now in the sequence is the amino acid sequence of sadness. That's not the same protein, because we know scientifically that if we alter the amino acid sequence, we've changed the protein. So we have normal muscle protein with the signal of the attitude mixed in with that particular protein. And that's a cheaper grade of protein. It's a weaker protein. And so if you look at the human body when it ages because the proteins that we've produced once when we were 16 or 17 years old are now a cheaper grade of protein than when we're 50 or 60 years old. And who gives the orders for the signaling and from the brain all the way to the receptor site is our own personal attitude. Now, they'll tell you, if you read any scientific text, that genetics causes diseases. Genetics cause disease. And then recently, science now says, well, no, it's not genetics that causes disease. It's the environment that stimulates the genetics that cause disease. But what I'm saying is it's our reaction to the environment that stimulates the effects of genetics that causes disease in the human body. So if we change our attitude, that means we're going to change the effects neurochemically, which means we're going to change our effects biologically, which means we're going to change the effects of the receptor site, which means we're going to change the expression of DNA, which means we're going to change the expression of protein, which means we're going to change the expression of life, which means we're going to change the health of the physical body. So our attitude literally has an effect on a cellular level.
If we know the thoughts of a person, we will best know them by their addiction, their continuous, over 24 hours, in a continuum of what emotions they display in their body, we shall know their thoughts.
I hate you.
We never, ever reincarnate to the I love you so much people. We always reincarnate to the situations of why we hate ourselves.
Hate you. You get it? You're fat! Look at you! You're ugly! You're worth nothing! You get it all! I hate you!
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our thoughts can do to us.
A person's mental life becomes dominated by pain, such that everything that they perceive is colored by the pain, and sometimes every way that they react and everything that they do becomes all about their pain.